Join me in welcoming Tommy Maloney. Hey, Tommy, how you doing today?
Outstanding but improving. How are you today, Steve?
I'm doing really good, thanks. So, with all the great milestones and everything going on in your life, uh, before we jump right into your book, tell us a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
How do I show up in the world? Oh, that's a great question. Well, the way I would like to show up in the world is helping dads and men going through their own struggles. As a divorced dad myself, who's happily remarried, coming up on 13 years, what I would love to have my legacy is just the ability for men to understand that asking for help isn't a weakness; it's a strength. And I want to be a part of, dads and men, again, who are having, maybe they're going through a divorce or thinking about divorce or they're after the divorce. Um, how do you stay connected with your kids? You know, been there, done that, got the t-shirts, Steve.
I absolutely understand that. So, my dad's advice at 5:04 a.m. Is the name of the book, and it is available for folks to get on Amazon, the ebook today for free. Let's first talk about that's such a great title. How did it come up? My dad's advice specifically at 5:04 a.m.
So the backstory is, Steve, that my son Connor, who right before we went live, just graduated from college. Yay! And so uh, my dad has a very dry sense of humor, and he ended up becoming, for me later in life, a great mentor. And so, when you have kids, Steve, you got to start calling the family and saying, "Hey, you're a grandparent, you're an aunt, you're an uncle." So when it came time to calling my dad, my former wife, her dad passed away when she was a very young age. So other than my bonus dad, my dad was the one and only grandfather. And so when I called him, it'd been, a long night. My poor former wife, giving birth. And so I called my dad, a little bit sleep deprived, and I said, "Hey, congratulations. You're a grandfather, a healthy boy named Connor." Um, and so I'm like, I just got to go. I got to go get some sleep. And he said, hold on. Do you know what your role is now for your son? And like I said, Steve, sleep deprived, really didn't have an answer other than, I guess, Dad, just to love him as best I can. And there's this long, dramatic pause, and he goes, "No, your job as a dad is to screw him up as best you can, just like I did with you." And like I said, Steve, my dad has a very dry sense of humor. And so the 504 represents when Connor was born. And my dad's advice, again, was to screw him up as best I can. Well, what I wanted to do, Steve, was take some of the life lessons I learned actually from my dad and do a little bit of reverse engineering. Except there is one that I want to share with the audience from the book, and that is my dad was um, a chaperone for several of our field trips. And so that was the one thing that I took away when I became a dad was I wanted to be that chaperone. I wanted, if an email goes out, I wanted to be the one of the first dads to be a part of it. So, um, like I said, Steve, my dad has a great sense of humor. Um, and the arc of the story within the book is at the very end, my wife and I were on a date night, and we happened to meet this couple sitting at the bar, and they were in town, and they happened to be from my hometown of Chicago. And we started talking. They were in town for a graduation, and I told the gentleman, this is my dad's advice. What do you think? And he looked at me, he goes, "Yeah, your dad was right." Like, so hence the name of the title, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m.
I totally love that. Yeah, I believe that we need to make sure that our children have something that they can talk to the therapist about that is legitimate and worth the therapist's time.
Yes. And as both of my parents know, I spend a lot of time on the couch as well. So God bless therapists.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talk to us in more detail. What is the book? What does it cover, and what kind of things is the book about?
The person I visioned when I was writing the book was actually a friend of mine's girlfriend named Jen, who has two daughters, has an amicable relationship with her former spouse. And so I wanted to take the book and actually, even though the cover of the book looks a little fatherly, with a tie on it, but I actually wrote the book for women. And I wrote the book to showcase that, we ex-husbands, Steve, we might be idiots, but we're very involved in our kids' lives. We're very um, wanting to be involved as best we can. And so I wrote the book showcasing several dads that were mentors to me throughout life. And I wanted to share their stories along with the trials and tribulations of what I went through a lot of mental health issues, and just again spotlighting dads that are doing great things out there. And so again, the book title, My Dad's Advice, I know might sound a little bit more towards dads and men, but like I said, Steve, I really wrote the book to women, to moms, to say, hey, again, I might be late picking up or dropping off our son, but I'm still involved.
Absolutely, I love that, and that's really important. I think a lot of times as dads, there's a disconnect because our brains are totally different than a mom's. And that isn't a bad thing. In fact, it
Right.
actually is a bonus for the child. But I think a lot of times it drives the moms crazy because they wonder why we just can't do it the right way, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of women correlate us men to Tim the Toolman Taylor, where we have to always ask permission either from our neighbor or from our spouse to do something. And so that's part of the reason why I wrote the book, is because I didn't want all of us men to be represented by Tim or Homer Simpson. I wanted us to be, shown that we do have, unlike the scarecrow, we do have a brain occasionally.
Once in a while, we even get it right.
Yeah.
So all of our kids will disagree with that, but that's okay.
What happens in therapy stays in therapy, right, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the book originally originated as the TED Talk that you did, and you just knew you had to turn it into a book. Can you tell us a little bit about the TED Talk and what kind of things you talk about in that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about in that TEDx talk was, essentially, how do you, in our case, this is a second marriage for both my wife and I. We have one thing we eliminated in our household was the vernacular of step. We never understood that word step. And if you look at the history of that word in cinema and TV, it's a negative word. And so what we did, Steve, was we took the word bonus. So this is your bonus mom, this is your bonus brother, these are my bonus daughters. And part of the TEDx talk was talking about how to build that relationship. And matter of fact, I start the talk with, I really didn't want to be a parent because I had lived through divorce. I lived through seeing my parents' marriage break up, and then once I got married and had a son, again watched my own marriage fall apart. And so part of the talk was just letting other people know of what to, not necessarily expect, but how to help get out of that, um, maybe out of your mind, and how to help yourself heal. And that's part of the reason why I want to help so many people, is because been there again, been there, done that. I've walked in other people's shoes. We might not have walked the same path, but I'm very similar to, again, going through divorce, getting remarried, having the opportunity to build relationships with two young women that to this day, I cherish as if they were all my own blood daughters. And so, again, the TEDx talk was, just to showcase, how to build a positive blended family.
Yeah, I adopted the phrase, the four in the middle are my fault, but the other two, but I call all of them my kids, that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, as we're recording this, Steve, our oldest daughter is any day now having her first child, and so I'm excited. I'm truly excited, and you know, w- I want to be involved as much as possible. But I understand coming from being the bonus grandfather, there's going to be a lot of times where, and this is something I got to witness again this past weekend with our son graduating, is, there are times where we're on the sidelines, and so, or even not even on sidelines, maybe we're up in the stands, but we're still there to support our kids. And this past weekend, I got to interact with my former spouse and her husband, but there were times where it just felt that I was once again back in the stands, and that's again maybe back to therapy for me, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your intentions? What would you love to do with the book?
Oh my gosh. So part of the reason I wrote the book is just to uh, uh, coach again other men, somewhat using the book as a workbook to guide dads and men through step by step on how to not only build a positive family, but build themselves up. In a lot of my writing, a lot of my blogs, or even occasionally, because I have a face for podcasting more than video. So I hope we're not scaring anybody right now, but I want the book to help men who are struggling with depression and realize asking for help is such a superpower versus just hiding from it. And that was something that I learned at an early age. I like I was saying earlier, I went through a lot of depression, and at a very early age, I was in therapy, and I got so much out of it. Even though the first time I went to a therapist, I sat there with um, sunglasses on and did the I don't want to be here, but I learned through um, therapy that it's needed. And again, what I want to get out of the book is the benefits of seeing somebody struggle and how to move forward and move past a lot of those struggles.
I absolutely love that. So the book is called My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m. It is available. The ebook is available today, actually, for free on Amazon. I did put the link in, and I'll make sure that it's on all the social medias as well. Before I let you go, Tommy, give us your dadly advice. It's not 5:04, and let us know what kind of things can we do as dads to be in our kids' lives.
I'm gonna talk to the bonus dads, and that is, you can't come into a new relationship. It's your way or the highway. And the thing that I learned from my bonus dad, Dan, was he took a step back and he just let me be me. And one of the things that I cherish to this day, and that is, um, I was visiting my mom and Dan, and he and I just sat on a back deck and smoking cigars, having a beer, and just talking. And because of his attitude of again, not coming in and, these are the rules, this is what's going to happen, versus building an organic relationship. And I feel that that's what I did with our two girls, Betsy and Becca, that we built an organic relationship. And I'm super blessed because of that. My son Connor, he is in more contact with them than I am with him. So on a regular basis, I know that he's hearing from his two sisters. And so my best advice, Steve, is again for those blended families is don't go in expecting the kids to respect you. It's that cliche, Steve. You have to earn that respect, and so I am very grateful for our two girls that I was able to build a relationship like that.
I absolutely love that. Well, everybody, do get My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m. by Tommy Maloney. It's available today on Amazon in the ebook form for free. Tommy, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I'm so grateful that we were able to do this. So thank you.